start recording now. So this meeting is now being recorded, and I will save this also in the management section so people can get a quick view, go ahead and go back on how to do the corporate wellness. So for starters, obviously the My Plan and the individual files that any individual user gets inside of our system provides a very nice tool for corporate wellness, because you can provide access to the tool with a bulk email scenario where you get 300 or 3,000 emails from a corporation. You put them into our system in one window, you assign them to a specific URL and a specific company for the duration of whatever that timeline might be. And it'll automatically send out all of your information to each of the employees, that they now have access to a corporate wellness account, and that they can literally click a link that brings them to a landing page that allows them to sign up for a corporation. So just a couple of quick examples of some corporate wellness presentations. This is one that was done with Experience Fitness. Another one here, let's see, let me pull them over. This one was actually kind of fun because this is done for a group out of New York, and they actually presented to a firefighter department, and they've actually got one that's committed to doing the system called Rye, New York, and then this Rochelle is the second one that they're presenting to. I haven't heard back on whether they're going in. One of them had 119 firefighters and the other had 28 or something like that. It was a relatively small one. But you can see in that background image that Robert just mentioned, those are set to a specific size. And it's a pretty big image, as you can see, even though it can be made very large from a small image because it's sort of behind as a background. We do have a number of images that are available that people can get and utilize. And then notice at the very top, this is branded with Lyft, which is the name of this company. And then the other one here is Experience Fitness, and those are obviously customers that are part of our network. And then this last one is PSA Insurance. So these presentations are built inside of our platform, and they're built to create a full HTML website. So the URL at the top, you can see that I just pasted in for the firefighter one, is a unique URL that you can put into any computer or email somebody and give that information to a corporation, or leave that information with a corporation after you've done the presentation. So there's a number of screens in the corporate wellness that are unique and modifiable to the company / corporation that you're working with. Currently, we have the logo in the very center that you can put in the logo of the company that you're going to talk to. This is the only thing that's complicated in that process, is this has to be specifically 600 by 295 pixels to fit into that space correctly. So you need to know how to crop and save an image to that exact size so you can upload it. And I will go through that process in Photoshop. There's a couple of sites out there that are relatively inexpensive that you can crop. PicMonkey is one that I used to use quite a bit when it was free. They've now gone to a very economical but pay model. I think it's like $19 a year or something, relatively inexpensive. So if you don't have Photoshop or don't have another tool to set the different pixel width and pixel depth cropping, that would be one I would definitely recommend. And it's PICMONKEY for the spelling. So additionally to the logo, you can also change in the headline. And so you can put in whatever headline makes sense for the group that you're presenting to. And you can have fun with that too, because there's a couple of presentations that people have created where they've utilized the name of the company or something like that to go along with that. And then you can put in the name of who the presenter is in presenting this particular presentation. Then when you get further into the presentation, you go through a number of screens that walk through what advantages does somebody get in putting a corporate wellness program together for their company. So it talks about 28% reduction in sick days, talks about 26% reduction in healthcare, 30% reduction in workers' comp. For every dollar that people spend on corporate wellness, they've projected to get a $5.93 return. And these are done with independent studies that are out there. And I've seen everything from every dollar that people spend to get a $3.26 return at the lowest to this highest at $5.93 return. So you can obviously, project out a tremendous amount of savings for a corporation that does enroll people into a corporate wellness program, especially as extensive as ours is to get people to improving their health and at getting educated on how to fix the high cholesterol or whatever it might be. The next screen goes into the number one problem and number one issue that people are getting insurance on is from the Center for Disease Control is chronic disease. It's the number one health issue in America. Clearly, everybody on the phone knows that this is from obesity. A lot of the chronic disease issues are obesity related. So 75% of insurance claims come from chronic disease. Number one contributor to chronic disease is physical inactivity. A lot of America sits for their job, unfortunately, so do I. So you have to find a lot of motivation to get out and do something, other than sitting all day long, which is causing a lot of people to be very heavy and obese and have very poor health. And that 85% of America's workforce statistically sits at their job. So this screen here becomes, go ahead.
The phrase I like to use in the gym now is sitting is the new smoking. But
yeah.
I'm wondering, is one of these slides you might have up front would be to get some of the comments that Warren Buffett made at the Berkshire Hathaway meeting last weekend in Omaha, where he said health costs, not taxes, pose the most risk to American business.
Please find those and send the link to me of that. I have not heard of that yet, but send me a link and I'll make sure that we get some of those things incorporated in.
All right, I will do.
Okay, so this is the most important screen that you have in your presentation. I can pretty much tell you across the board, everybody that you present to is going to ask, well, can I just go ahead and have my employees that want to engage in this program sign up for it? Because they're going to look at the price tag of $3 or $5 or $10 per month per employee, and they're going to go, that's a lot of money. Well, if they look at their second biggest line item on their spreadsheet for their profit and loss, it's going to be insurance and or workman's comp. And so those two figures being astronomical in their books and in their profit, this is the screen where you really need to talk to them about, look, the people that are going to be responsible for 75% of your insurance claims are going to be approximately 6% of your employee base. Those 6% are not likely the people that are going to opt in. And when we get to the financials pricing of how we deliver our package, you're going to get an opportunity to see that we price it far more cost effectively if all of your members come in as part of a payroll deduction or an automatic deduction from their payroll. It's a lot more economical. And so in talking with this screen, usually when I'm doing this presentation, and I will also add to everybody that's on the phone, if somebody has a reasonably decent size account, a couple hundred employees or more, and you want my help in giving the presentation, I've done it many times where the client, my client, the gym or the trainer or the health coach goes to the corporation, sits in front of their corporation, gets them into the system. I do the presentation through the Zoom, just like we're doing it right now. And then I turn it over to them when it gets to the pricing and when they're talking about all the services that they're going to provide outside of the online component. But if anyone wants my help in that presentation, great. Let me know with enough advance notice that we can schedule a time that works. And I'm happy to do that, because every time that you add a client, I'm adding a client. Obviously, I don't want to do that if it's only 9 employees, because my time is limited. I'm pretty busy right now with a lot of things going on, but I'm happy to help and encourage you to let me help and get those clients signed up, because it helps both of us. Okay, so additionally, from this screen, what I talk about is that 100% of your employees get a roadmap to succeeding, not just the people who opt in, but all of the people. And even if a client only downloads a couple of recipes that they find out that they like that are health-based recipes, we've improved the potential weight loss, or better, not non-weight gain at least, of that particular client. So what I typically do is I get to this screen in the presentation, and then I log in to the site to show how the site works. And I do a very, very brief overview of, you get an online fitness program that's customized to your likes and dislikes in foods that matches the protocol of the nutritionist. You get a workout program that can be home, and that's going to be a big thing for people, a home workout or a gym workout. And then I usually will mention that this is connected to, and show that it's connected to, the Fitbit. And by June 1st, in a couple of weeks here, it will be connected with Garmin. We're just about finished with that process. So I'll walk through that. I'll talk about the articles. I'll talk about a little bit of the online health risk assessment, the blood work, the ability to deliver news to the corporation of the employee's success story. And I usually spend maybe 15 minutes or less just giving a brief highlight view of what each member gets. Then I come back to the presentation, which is just on another tab, and I finish out the presentation, and I show them and demonstrate to them that, look, all of your employees get a custom landing page, and that landing page is branded to match your company logo and your company colors, and every page inside of our site matches your employees' look and feel and design, so they can very clearly see that this is brought to you by UPS or John Deere or whoever the corporation that you're presenting to is. Then when you go to the next screen, I get into a little bit more detail about what they just saw on the MyPlan demonstration. And I talk about the fact that we analyze and evaluate through the various assessments, whether it's the full blood panel or the online health risk assessment. We identify where problem areas are, and we educate those people on those problem areas through the articles and videos that we, meaning you guys, put in for that company to be able to know that how do you reduce cholesterol, how do you reduce stress, how do you get people that have an obesity issue into better shape. All of those things are addressed on that MyPlan, individualized for each person. We also have the evaluation, whether it's doing the online health risk assessment, which is inside of the system under our profile. They answer very basic questions like, how many servings of vegetables do you consume? Do you drink alcohol? When you drink alcohol, how many drinks do you usually have? And all of those very basic questions that help the employer understand if they're on track with what they're doing in their health, how they sleep, do they have pain? And then if they do a full blood panel draw, which most corporations want to do at the very beginning, and you would want to recommend as well, that they do a blood screening, at least a finger stick screening, where they take a couple of drops of blood and test for cholesterol and glucose level and some of the very basic parameters that are typically involved with chronic disease, the high cholesterol, the high triglycerides, the high glucose levels. And so they're identifying if someone's maybe a type 2 diabetic and doesn't know it. And those types of things can be easily identified relatively inexpensively but save a client or a corporation a tremendous amount of money if they're identified early and then it's dealt with and those people are educated. So our system tracks whether it's a very poor, high risk, shows up as a red X, a gold X if it's a low but still a risk, and a green shows up as if they're in the ideal range with whatever test result that is. If they have any of those categories in the yellow or the red, our system will automatically start sending them articles to help educate them on how to overcome whatever that issue is. The corporation has the ability to see an aggregate data of what's happening in the company from everybody who has a test done will show up inside of the system with a result that they can very easily look at blood pressure and cholesterol and other things like that and identify as a company where are their problem areas. Aggregate results means that all of the employees are tied together and you don't need the HIPAA release form in order to see these types of results because they're not zeroing in on one person. The rest of the data is behind the HIPAA compliance regulations where nobody can see an individual's MyPlan data unless that employee agrees through a HIPAA release form on our system to share that with a trainer or coach or whoever it might be that's working with them. So that's all available inside of the system. Then we talk about that you set a course of action based on all of the data that you've put in. You understand, where they're most impact to, help that employee population and where they're the most at risk. And then you put a plan in place to engage those employees. A lot of times this is done with both a carrot and a stick. And the stick being that you have to engage and get your blood work testing done in order to receive some type of employee benefits. I know as an example, Wells Fargo offers $800 into the insurance plan of an individual for anyone who gets a blood work test. And that's basically a discount where, things in like prescriptions and things like that come out of that $800. So it's a pretty substantial amount of money, but it forces people essentially with the stick to say, hey, well, kind of a carrot stick in that one, but it forces people to get that done in order to save money. And then of course, the more obvious carrot is I would encourage you guys in however you price your plans, price the dollar amount with enough money that you guys can put out what you're going to give away each month for everybody who's above the minimum participation level inside of that corporation. And that can be a $250 gift certificate to Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. It can be t-shirts that have your branding on it. It can be baseball caps with your branding. It can be, a Fitbit that you're giving away for everyone who gets the first prize. I do have one corporation that went to the extreme a year or so back with a corporate wellness program that anyone that was above the minimum participation level for all 12 months went into a super big drawing, and they actually gave away a 6-day, all expenses paid trip to Hawaii with a $500 cash spending money for two people, for obviously a husband and a wife or a friend or whatever it might be. But they went to the extreme. But I would encourage you guys to do that because you can go to local vendors like Whole Foods or Subway or things like that, and you can get a lot of stuff for free or very little that encourages people to go into health-based businesses. And that can be, a lot across the board, but you can put into the pricing structure of what you're going to give away a $500 value. And you may have gotten it for $200, but if it's a $500 gift certificate, the employee doesn't care. They have the $500, they're happy. But you guys should do that because you can partner up and team up with and start the conversation with other health-based products and potentially get them to come in as additional locations and companies inside of your website and do corporate wellness for them. So just some ideas, and we'll toss around more ideas at the end of this conversation amongst everyone who's online. I'm sure you guys have some good ideas as well. But those are things that people have brought back to me and said, here's what we're doing. And so I share those to say, hey, these are good ideas. All right, so this is an example of the leaderboard. So you can see the two people above the 15,000 points. Well, those two people would be put a name on a drawing. And I would also recommend that you make a big deal of it. Whoever's running the corporate wellness program for this corporation, you go in for a lunch and maybe even cater a lunch where you order Subway subs because that's one of the gifts that you're giving away. And you get a discount on that 6-foot sub that you ordered for everyone in the corporation, or 5 6-foot subs if it's a big corporation. And you go to the extreme of putting those names from everybody into a hopper and then pulling out, here's your 4th place prize, and here's your 3rd, and here's your 2nd, and the grand prize is Susie Smith. And make a big deal of that, because those are things that anyone who's not participating is going to miss out on, and is going to go in and see that somebody just won a $500 gift certificate to Whole Foods or whatever it might be, or a Fitbit, and maybe they start participating next year, or next month, I mean. So the participation board is a good way to do it. And then this page here and the next 2 pages are highly modifiable inside of the corporate wellness presentation, which I will show you in a little bit. So the headline is modifiable, and all of these bullets are modifiable. How I recommend that you set this up is the bronze package is the opt-in. That's the one that you're going to say, look, we'll let you opt in, but it's a higher price. It's $9.95 per employee. They have to put in their own credit card. They get the same value of the next level down, which is the silver package, but you can do this far, far less expensive. And what I recommend here is this is the online only. This is the down and dirty that, yes, you can get corporate wellness through us, but you don't have a lot of involvement in this other than potentially going once a month to give away whatever the prizes are that you're doing. So you have your opt-in, you have your payroll deduction that is your online only, some very inexpensive price, and then you have your gold package, and your gold package is where you add in extras. This is where you would add in discounts on personal training, discounts on health club memberships, lunch and learns that you would analyze with the CEO or the CFO or the human resource director that you have a high blood pressure issue or a high cholesterol issue or an obesity issue. And so you analyze where the problem areas are, and you schedule once a month, as an example, lunch and learns. That on Thursday you go in, you buy a Subway sub or 2, and you talk about reducing cholesterol. And you can set those up in the after work times or lunchtime or whatever makes sense for the corporation. But this is where you add in the extras. And the additional $1.50 in this particular case, this whole setup was done for a large company that had 3,400 employees. So $1.50 times 3,400 is a pretty significant amount of money to offer all of these extras. So you have to do the calculations in your own mind based on the number of employees that are going to come in to this. If they do the every employee payroll deduction scenario, you have to come into your mind, what am I going to need for covering prizes? What am I going to need to cover the lunch and learn costs of a personal trainer? And in one case, I actually had a corporation that did custom boot camps at the corporation because there were people in the corporation that were in the upper management level that didn't want to go to the gym because they were obese. And you hear that a lot, unfortunately, that I'll go to the gym as soon as I get in a little better shape, which really makes me crazy that people say that, but they do a lot, it seems. But you could schedule boot camps twice a week out at a corporation if they're paying you enough. So again, you have to figure out and calculate what makes sense. And that's going to be all across the board. When you're presenting to a small company, those numbers might be $20 per employee per month. when you're presenting to a super large one, you get a company like 17,000 employees, it might be down to $1.50 or $2 per employee. That gets into a very, very reasonable, but it's still times 17,000, a lot of money. And then the last screen, you can put in your logo or a photo or whatever makes sense and some basic information about your company. So that's how the presentation works, and it's all modifiable. As I said, it will have your logo at the top. Anyone have any questions on the presentation? I'm going to show you how to build it next. So if it's a question on how to build it, we'll go ahead and save that. But any questions on that at all? All right, that makes it easy. So now I'm going to go into the actual website and show you how to build a presentation. So first of all, you would need to go into the actual website that you're building, into the company/corporation. You would go to the corporate wellness tab, which allows you to build these corporations inside of the system. And so you would go to the corporation that you wanted to build the presentation for. You would fill in the data of what that corporation is, their formal corporation name. You will notice that this first screen, if you try to type a comma or a period or a question mark or any other type of special character, it will not allow it. The reason for that is it uses that as part of the URL, and those characters won't work as a URL for a website. So you may have to eliminate a period or a comma to get that filled in. But then you put in the name of the person that is your contact, their email, their phone number, and then if you have a person that's running that presentation, so as an example, this is the person that's doing this particular presentation. What this affiliate or commission expert means is whoever's email is here is going to make the commission on this corporation depending on how many employees come in and sign up. You can put any kind of notes that you have in here. You're not going to likely need to use the slug, so just ignore it. That's why it's put in there as optional. The number of participations, the most common so far that I've seen is 15,000. It's very achievable with relatively easy effort, but it does get people engaged, and hopefully those points get into the $4,000 and $5,000 for people. And then you put in whatever you want to be the headline on their landing page, meaning the page that their employees get to when they go in and click on the link that I'm going to show you in a little bit here that they sign up for. You can put any kind of congratulations message that you want to put in. Congratulations on taking the first step to better health or being a more productive employee. We care about our employees' health, so we're offering this plan. Anything that the corporation might want to give a message to their clients, that's what you would type there. You would upload their logo, and then in this case, you can see that he actually had a birthday with a funny hat on this guy's head that he put in because he knows this person well. So he's going to make a little bit of fun on it. And so when I go to this, you can see his little fun hat and his birthday celebration. But you can see how it creates that custom page. You don't have to know HTML. You don't have to do anything. You just type in the information. Our system will put it in to match the colors of your site, put in the logo of that corporation, the photo that you've selected. And this is now literally creating a landing page. Now you're going to need to make a screenshot of this landing page because this is one of the images that you're going to upload that drops inside of the iPad that, if you recall in the presentation earlier, there was an iPad that showed the landing page of for all the employees. That's this image. So you'll have to do a screen capture of this and crop it to 980 by 600 pixels, which we'll get to in a little bit here. All right, so back to the presentation page. That's how you create what we call the landing page. And then again, make the screenshot of the landing page. Then the next step is going to the actual presentation. And so when you go into the presentation, you're going to need to create a presentation. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to go to create corporate wellness presentation. It'll bring in all of the information that you need. This is where you're going to put in that landing page image that I just talked about, the 980 by 600 pixels, the background image, which Robert mentioned earlier. There's a number of images that we have, and let me open those real quick and show you those so that if anyone else wants me to send them, put in chat that you'd like to get a copy of the landing page images as well. They're basically stock images that we have that we've already sized to that specific size. So these are the 5 that we're working with right now. And so if one matches, like this is obviously more desert climate, where this is more lush trees, if it fits your area better, then you can use whatever one might be appropriate. You can see the one we did for firefighters, which really turned out great. But these are really pretty large images. You can do, of course, your own, any images that you might have, but they are a pretty good size. And again, if you have to blow it up, because it's used as a background image, it's not terribly critical. It'll probably work just fine. So anyone who wants those, put your email address in the notes area. So I'm going to upload a landing page, I'm going to upload a background image, and I'm going to upload a fanned out image. And the fanned out image is the one page that we went to that talked about 100% of your people getting access to the My Plan page to help them become healthier people. This image right now is only able to be put in at the super admin level. It will be very shortly available for you to put it in. I typically have created those images because it's a relatively complicated Photoshop file that we end up creating for our customers. And then I've been sending those out to our companies so that they have them available. This is an example of that image. And so it's pretty tricky to do this perspective screenshots. So I typically will do this for you as part of the initial sign-up fee, and I'll send that out to you that you can then upload every time you create a new corporate wellness program. And then let me go to I'm going to log out as me so I can log in as this individual, and you can get a feel for how this looked for this particular presentation. So I'm going to go back to corporate wellness. I'm going to select the corporation, this Be Connected. I'm going to go to the presentations tab. I'm going to go to edit, even though this one's already done. You can see the images that they uploaded. Going to the next step, it allows you to put in any kind of headline that you want, and then any type of bullets that you want. And the bullets are nice, and it's all set up and it's all automated. So if you have this, the second option and the third option and everything else, it's just a matter of clicking the bullets and then putting your bullet options in. There's less space for the bronze and the silver than, of course, the gold. So you can put in your headline for silver in your silver package, and then the gold package is 2 columns wide because it's usually where you're going to add in all of the extras. And so we gave you a lot more room to put in, 15 or 20 bullets if you wanted to put that many in. And it's just like Word. You can make it bold or italic and all of that stuff by clicking the icons. But it will automatically bring that text into the presentation to look the way that you want it to look. And then the very last screen is uploading an image and any kind of information that you want about yourself or your company on what you're going to be able to provide for that corporation.
Hey, Don, on the 2 columns,
yep.
I didn't see the break for the 2 columns.
It'll automatically break for you.
And
when you get to your limit, it'll push it to the next. And then when you go and you save your changes and you go and you view that presentation, if you don't like it, you can push something to the next column as an example.
And is that also in the other 2 packages as well? Will it push over to a second column?
No, because those are smaller packages and they're designed to be very, 3, 4, 5 bullets. I think you can fit like 6 bullets in there before it causes a problem. But you shouldn't need more than that because that's an online only package, your silver package, or your opt-in, which just talks about people that are going to opt in and put in their own credit card. So you really shouldn't need more space for that particular screen. And we plan on, we don't have them in here yet, but we plan on doing another type of modifiable or editable presentation for bringing in a new personal training client and bringing in a new member to a health club or a weight loss clinic or whatever else it might be. That's in the future, but we do plan on having that capability. So real quick, is there any questions on building a presentation? Any questions on cropping photos? Is everything making sense on what we covered here today? Okay, well then I'd open it up. Does anyone have any ideas, anything that involving corporate wellness that would be of help to the audience that you might want to share that you've had success with or obstacles with or anything else? And we'll go ahead and keep that in the end of the recording in case people want to hear that. Any comments, questions, objections that you've run into? Any questions at all? No? Okay. Well, I'm going to stop the recording.